Hi there, I am Zoe Ebling, VP of Interactive at AGS. Very excited to be here at ICE today.
Good morning, I'm Sam, the CEO of Rootz, which is a casino operator.
So it's been really great to get to know you throughout this process and learning about Rootz as well. Just been really impressed to know that you own all your own technology, right? You've got proprietary. And when you think about the regulated industry, right, and the European industry, that's always been sort of, everyone says, you own your own tech, you've made it, right? Is that how you feel?
Yes and no. So, of course, owning your own tech is a huge advantage, both in terms of kind of managing your own destiny and in terms of, let's talk about residual value of a business if you're ever to sell it. However, it does mean that when you move through the regulated industry, and as we know, there's no kind of two same regulations. Every single one is very unique and challenging. So it also means you're responsible for creating all of those localized components.
That's true.
So it's, yes, it's, of course, you're the masters of your destiny, but it also means that you have to deliver every single piece of technology yourself.
And does it make you small and nimble against the big guys, right? Is that really the competitive edge that you need, or?
It does. I think it makes you more nimble, and it also makes you more customizable. So you can be really, really chiseled with your approach to how you kind of interpret and execute the regulations.
Do you think that that's all that you need? Like when you're in a market like Ontario and there's, FanDuel and DraftKings, do you feel that the tech stands on its own, or is there another piece to that?
Well, if we talk specifically about Ontario, it's an extremely challenging market for a company of our size. If we talk about the operators you mentioned there, they have 50 times our marketing budgets. And so it doesn't really matter how good our technology is at that point if someone's going to spend 200 million a year in marketing when we can only spend 5 to 10. It's, of course, the tech doesn't help you so much there. But of course it does give you an advantage. If it were a ceteris paribus, as they say in economics, then I'm sure the tech would stand out. But in markets like Ontario, it's incredibly difficult to compete with just technology.
Do you find that outside of markets like Ontario? Like, do you find that in the UK and other regulated European markets as well?
Yeah, we don't work in the UK, but we're in regulated Germany, for example.
Yeah.
And there, I would say, our ability to be nimble does actually give us an advantage.
Yeah.
It's very, very slow from a bureaucratic perspective in moving things forward in the German market. So you don't want to have any tech delays on top of that. So there is an element there of being nimble, I would say. But yeah, in general, again, when it comes to the tier one marketing juggernauts, they're not going anywhere, and tech doesn't really save you against those guys.
So having your own technology, being able to be fast and nimble, coming out with a superior platform isn't the only component. An investment piece as well to make you competitive in some of those markets where you've got big spenders. Is that kind of key to success, would you say?
Yeah, I would say so. It certainly helps, let's put it that way.
Yeah. So let's say I was like a trust fund kid and had $1 billion to give you. How would you use it? What are some of the strategic ways that you think player acquisition to go against some of the big guys?
It's very, very market specific. So if we talk about the North American market, that's still a very traditional market, I would say, where above the line just really, really, you just have to be ever present everywhere. So, you really need to, if you're talking about that market, I would be investing significant funds in, trying to do brand ambassadorship or trying to own a specific sport or area of the market. European markets, I would say, are a bit more digitally sophisticated. So there, I think if you had significant money, you would probably look to own more of your own supply chain. So own more of your own marketing technologies, payment technologies, aggregation technologies. I think that's in a more sophisticated market, an area where you can really start to trim your costs and get really good economies of scale.
That makes sense. I mean, unfortunately, I don't have $1 billion to give you, although I wish I was a trust fund baby. What do you think are some of the really significant challenges that some small to mid-size operators face in this arena?
Well, I mean, the most obvious one is the juggernauts, so the big tier ones.
Yeah.
Just really dominating the space and dominating the media. Seemingly unlimited access to capital, so they can lose lots and lots of money every year and still remain successful. But then I would say, the other main challenges are just picking and choosing where you apply yourself. So again, if you don't have unlimited access to capital, you have to be very intelligent about and targeted about the markets you go into, and the way and the type of verticals you take on in those markets. So I'd say it's really the small and medium businesses. It's about really kind of sharpening the tools, being really, really direct with with your strategy and where you want to go. If you kind of try to be too broad brush and too wide reaching, you do kind of too little of everything. So it's more about doing as much as possible of a smaller and more targeted strategy, I would say.
When we were talking earlier, one of the things that you mentioned was being a bit fearful about some of the gray markets that are looking to regulate.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, it's no secret for the operators in the industry don't have the same margins as the suppliers, right? So one of the most significant things is the regulated taxation models and how friendly or usually unfriendly those models are. So for us, I think our long-term goal is to regulate as much of our revenues as possible, but of course we need to do that in a way that's profitable. And unfortunately, in some of the markets, the way they structure the taxation and the regulation, it's very, very geared towards the big guys.
Right.
It's not usually so friendly to the kind of tier 2 and below. So again, it's about choosing the right markets, working in a handful of regulated markets where your business model can be EBIT positive.
So thinking about some of the things that we've talked about, whether it's, the importance of owning your own technology, having the right investment, making sure that you're making a profit with your business, what do you think that means for some small to mid-tier operators in terms of their future in the space? Do you see more markets regulating and everybody staying in regulated markets, or do you think that there might be a shift?
I think for smaller guys to come into the market and target regulated markets, if they're doing more than one, it's going to be extremely challenging.
Yeah.
I would imagine that more of the smaller operators stay very tactical and go where the money is, which is somewhat in the grey markets for those guys. I think to build big brands in regulated markets today requires the trust fund billions rather than the startup millions. So,
right.
I would say for the smaller, I would imagine smaller operators would target the grayer markets rather than the regulated markets.
What's your 2025 prediction for the industry?
I think that there's a really interest from the operator side, of course, speaking where I am. There's a very kind of interesting trend in recent years of multi-branding. So I think 2025 will be one of the defining years where people need to choose, do they multi-brand or super brand markets? And I also think that there'll be some big decisions around regulated versus non-regulated and where do companies position themselves. It's a dangerous playing field to be in the middle. You kind of need to commit to one or commit to the other. So I think I think 25 will, again, see operators focus their strategy much more clearly on one of those two directions. Big brand versus disposable brands, regulated versus non-regulated.
Last question today. I love ChatGPT and AI. What's one way that you've used an AI tool recently?
Well, this morning and every morning I use Gemini to summarize my emails. I think that's a really fantastic little life hack that saves you many minutes in the morning. And ChatGPT, I use almost as frequently as Google now.
Yeah.
It's just so helpful. Anything business related, preparing business materials, presentation materials. It's just so much better than I am.
Yeah,
So,
I would agree.
I think it's great tools. I'm embracing it for the time being.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.